G'day and welcome everybody to the Forbidden History Chronicles. You're here with NinjaCat and NinjaCat 111 and Dezert-Owl from the Forbidden History series. Hi, ya love. Take the L Devil. I'm glad you're okay. I think we're all coping it at the moment. I've had a couple of rough days as well, so yeah, I lived through it. Back on the live streams, so that's fantastic. These streams keep me going. I don't know about you guys. Hi Lynn, I hope you're doing okay. Have I missed anybody? I don't think so. I apologise if I have. Anyway, we'll just get straight into this. I'll read the introduction and then I have a bit of an update on what's happening down here in the land of Oz, and then we'll get on with the Chronicles. Okay, this is Desert's. He rounds it up nicely. Sorry, I haven't had. I have had only a couple of sips of coffee this morning. I'll wake up very soon. Anyway, this is what Desert wrote. The Signs of the Times. In essence, Desert discusses the history of the world and how the unseen hand has been running it from the very beginning of time. Who they are and how they have founded all of the first great civilizations that are found all around the world. About who the giants really were and the ancient Aryan caste and slave systems, the priesthoods, the anti-gravity V-manners, the Earth-based misnomered UFOs which are man-made, the control of all forms of communications, commerce, religion, mass media, pseudo-politics, etc. It is the grand deception that is used to control all of mankind, and all instituted through the three main religions of the world in particular, used as their grand cover. Their cyber code has been revealed to him because he has become adept within the study of the ancient alphabets, communications, symbolism, religion, custom, law, cosmology and mythology, not to mention the fallacy of today's political science and pseudoscience in particular. He can also define the true nature of their warfare, their shell game of bringing one civilization up for their temporary use and then taking it down for the next 500-year generational cycle, as symbolized by the classical phoenix. He discusses the ultimate in mind control and ancient art and the financial control, the secret societies and their blood occult rituals, and how they wage all wars throughout all time through the nations they have created, which are all imaginations, plantations, and mere corporations. They have taken blood oaths to surrender their self-will and mind to their blind goddess, who has demanded our blood from the very beginning of time. They communicate to their minions through the movies, TV, and print media, while he can see, read, and interpret most all of it. It says that they are using us for our ingenuity, for our collective constructive labour, for experimentation, and in the end, they intend to kill us all. They have given us full notice of what they are doing and what they fully intend to do, while all of the general population, the sheeple, they merely go there to be entertained. The New World Order is the Old World Order from the beginning of time. There is a major cosmic natural disaster that is about to happen on Earth, and they know it, but they are cleverly leaving us in the dark. Hence the reason that they have built hundreds of underground bases all around the world, while they are leaving all of the people to remain unprepared, uninformed, and above ground, so that when it comes, the mere 5% who will survive above ground will die from the weaknesses and disease that has been generated from all of the poisons that they have been feeding us, from the chemtrails to fluoride in the water to tainted vaccines to fake food, etc., etc. They have enslaved us all by the clever means of deception, because we, most all, are their cattle, chattel, property, and because they merely wanted to harness our labour, what they always needed, which is what backs most of the world's currency through the birth certificate, but they are all through with us now. It is written in stone, as it can be seen written in the Georgia Guidestones. To know the truth is to be empowered and to be prepared. We may not be able to stop what has been done and what is about to happen, but the innocent and decent people on planet Earth deserve to know. And that was written by Dezert-Owl. Welcome, Desert. We'll say g'day and then I'll get into this Aussie update. How's it going?
Hey, Kala, Ninja. Okay. And for anyone out there that's been having a rough day, they should know I've been having a rough millennium, and the last one wasn't good either, you know. So you hang in there, because the sun rises every day. We never question whether the sun will rise, and so there is a deliverance to all of our challenges that we face. And we all are facing a big one together. But the truth is that this is not our world, and that's actually the good news. And we have to come to terms with the higher self. And the higher self, through the grace of Yeshua and his guidance, being our tree of knowledge and our soul navigator, can lead us on back into eternity, which is where we belong. We don't belong here. We're having an experience in a physical matrix, a reality that is not the true reality. It is an illusion of time, and time is temporary. That which has a beginning has an end, just like going to a movie. It doesn't last very long, and especially in consideration to how long a day without end really is. A day without end doesn't end, and so it's worth everything to come to terms with that reality, because of the illusion wants to suck us dry, and it's doing a good job of it, is it not?
Yes. Well put, Desert. Thank you, Lynn, for the sound check. What's been happening here is they are sucking us dry. They're killing us, Desert, to put it bluntly. Like I was saying to you before, there are some YouTube channels that are reporting regularly on what's going on in Australia, but I have not seen any Aussie ones, so you're going to get some information from the inside, because I'm here and I'm living it. Okay, firstly, we've been in a heat wave since before Christmas. Mid-40s is the average. The hottest place, about a week ago I think it was, the hottest place on the planet got to 48 degrees in just west of where I am in New South Wales. Southeast Australia is getting it at the worst at the moment, but it's affecting the whole country. The hottest place in the world the other day, 48 degrees Celsius, which is, I think, around, I don't know, it's over 100, maybe 110 Fahrenheit. Don't quote me on that, but my point being, the name of the place was Nuna. Remember me telling you that, does it?
Yes.
Yeah, Nuna. And yeah, you pointed out, I didn't even see it, you pointed out the significance of that with the word noon in there. Yeah, so at the moment Tasmania is on fire. I do not have any memories ever of that happening in Tasmania. And there's fires like around New South Wales. I couldn't tell you where. The first heat wave, when we had the Queensland fires, killed nearly all of the flying foxes. And during summer they migrate south. Since then, that was about a month ago, since then I've seen two. I have a big tree out the back. normally gets filled with bats every night. Flying foxes are huge. They're about the size of a fox with wings. Yeah, and I've seen 2. So I have a list here of all the insects and a couple of other animals affected, because we're still in a heat wave. It's hot right now. Okay, this is just based on my observation from around Canberra. Mosquitoes have been on the increase. There are way too many mosquitoes. They're annoying enough, and they're just, I wouldn't say plague proportions, but there are way too many to handle. Ants, I've noticed a change. Last summer I was noticing a lot of black ones with bright red on them, and I'd never seen them before. I don't see those this year. It's more smaller ones, but ants are still around. The spiders are missing. We get whitetails here, and they're very aggressive. They come in pairs, male and female. They hide. When they come into your house, they're active at night, but they hide. They hide behind curtains, in shoes, under cushions, wherever. And I'm not very good with spiders. I've had quite a few experiences with them, and I have not seen any this year. Excuse me. I saw one mouse spider. They look like whitetails. They're normally pretty common as well. I've seen one tarantula. They're normally in all the trees in the backyard trying to get in the house. I've only seen one. There's about half as many bees. Probably 1 in 10 grasshoppers. The little ones. You guys might call them locusts. We call them grasshoppers. They are normally everywhere. I'll say plague proportions every summer. Probably 1 in 10 now. Christmas beetles, we normally get a run of those. I've seen about 4. And yeah, praying mantis, I've seen 1 big one, and normally we have lots of the cute little green ones around the garden and coming into the house. Haven't seen any. No boggon moths, but summer isn't over yet. We normally get a plague of those. They change the colour of Parliament House, and I haven't seen any of those. I've seen 1 hornet. We normally get 2 regulars. No wasps. Earwigs, I don't know what you guys call them. They're long, funny looking things with little pinches on the end of them. They're reduced, and I haven't noticed any grass flies. I think you also call them sand flies. Oh, we call them sand flies on the coast, grass flies inland. Haven't seen any of those either. And the main one, the fish die-offs. It started in the Murray River with the cod, and now it's spread to all of New South Wales, all of the lakes. The first one that was noticed was Lake Menindee. I don't know the type of fish in there, but it's now all sorts of fish. There was another lake, Lake Hume. There was a report of over 1,000 carp. They corrected that. They said, oh, it's only 60, so it probably doesn't count. I'm saying this because I think it does count. I think it's just the start, since it's now spread over the entire state, and only carp. I mean, it's still fish, and they're dying. So, and causes. that are being said in mainstream. The first one, obviously, drought. They've put climate change in there. Algae, which makes sense because of the heat and the lack of rain. Stagnant water. Plus all the chemicals they're putting in the air. Everything's suffocating and frying. And they've also added mismanagement to the list. But considering it's statewide now and only increasing, I think drought, algae, and suffocating and being poisoned are a bit more accurate to the mainstream view. So there you go. That's an update from Ground Zero. So Desert, do you want to add anything to that, or will we go straight to the good news?
Well, that was a good, sad, but you did a great job of reporting, Ninja. And I guess the only good news was those spiders are gone.
Yeah, I know. I hate whitetails. Yeah.
Who likes spiders? You know, you have to be a rather interesting individual to like spiders. So, but yeah, it's a sad report. We're in trouble in our world. That's on Dane Wigington's report. Every Saturday, who has geoengineeringwatch.org, he says that upwards of 80 or 90% of all insects seem to be gone around the world now. It's a mind blower to realize that.
Yeah, it's traveling. It's traveling with the summer, and I don't know. That's what I'm noticing. Like, in the States, it was happening in the warmer weather over there, and now that we've got it, it's happening here. So it just seems to be going around with the summer, from what I've noticed. One question. When the animals die, do they automatically get taken back into the light? Like, do they get a free pass? I was thinking about that today.
Who you're referring to? I missed something. Who you're referring to?
When the animals die, you know how we have to figure things out and become pure and get to know Yeshua. When the animals die, do they just get to go straight into the light?
Well, they're a product of the light.
Yeah.
But we don't have any scriptures that elaborate on anything like that. We have to realize that where we are in this lower dimension is Crazy Horse, said it best. He said this world is only a shadow of the real world, and so we're here to learn lessons. The animals animate. They're also known as primates. They animate lessons for us to learn about life. They're here as Elohim, another form of Elohim, the Elohim, and so they don't have the soul that like we do. We are of a different nature. They are of the world. We are not of the world. So just like everything that has a beginning has an end, it appears, and all I can say is, what it appears to be, is that that they just go back into oblivion when and as if they don't exist. They're a product of this world. The world will end one day completely, and it looks like it's happening sooner than later. So that's okay, because at least they don't suffer. There's no suffering involved. They're a product of the divine will, and so he knows best how to take care of what is his. We own nothing. We are a product of his as well, and have to come to terms with our true nature that is antithetical to his greatness, and also the true nature that we can aspire to in this great mystery that we're in. And by the way, I just want to say thank you to all of the wonderful friends out there that are supporting of the Transliteration Project, and also especially thank you to Liz And Teresa, you know, I've got to receive both of your gifts, and I mean, you know, I sure appreciate it as well. And Lynn, you know, I've already thanked her directly, but I'm not on the computer yet. I hope to be up real quick here any day now, and I'm going to make an effort this weekend to try to get, you know, back into broadcasting on the Forbidden History series channel as well. So, but you know, but the support for the few listeners that we have, I'm absolutely overwhelmed by the generous support of some I have not named, you know, because I really, you know, everybody is supposed to, we're told, you know, to do things privately, and a reward is given openly, and so therefore I don't want to just name everybody, you know, but I couldn't communicate with these very nice ladies, and I wanted to make sure that they knew that I received their wonderful contributions, and therefore it makes a difference. You know, it means I was able to get a few books and a few things, because right now, while I've been down, I have literally been cramming reading. I've got several etymological dictionaries in on the Indo-Germanic mother tongue. I should have got them 30 years ago, you know, and I waited till I pretty well had it all revealed to me by Yeshua, but then now it's getting fine-honed, and the fine-tuning is I'm now able to read. I go beyond the dictionaries, actually, because of the anointing of the Father of Light, and the, you know, so the ability, and you have to see it from the conspiratorial view, because these people writing the dictionaries hardly would be doing their work based on, you know, some conspiracy involved, and yet I can still prove out that they're abbreviating the words from the beginning. Like I said, the priesthood, right from the beginning, has abbreviated words. One example would be the word or, O-R, and in one of the dictionaries, it said that it was the original word for eagle, and you know, and I thought about that. I said, wait a minute, you know, okay. So I pondered on that, and I realized that it was an abbreviated word. It was still an abbreviated word. Now, whether it was the modern scholastics who were abbreviating it, or, you know, censoring it, in other words, or was it from the ancient? Well, I can deduce that it could be both, and but especially from the beginning, because I realized that out the gate, they never wanted to reveal their entire code. The ancient Aryan Vekoresh, the Watchers that fell, they immediately knew they would not give their treasure, and the treasure is in the mind. They would not give their treasure to the, you know, to the slaves. You know, so therefore, when I look, it took me about a day, and I meditated on that. Then I said, wait a minute, I know what's missing. If it's an eagle, you know, because like the word eagle is the A gull. It's the A, that letter A, and most everyone has seen that other picture of the sun with the A in it, because the A does represent the sun. It's the A gull. And why? Because the gull flies higher to the sun than any other bird, and that's why it's the A gull. It'd be like calling it the sun gull. You know, that's another way it's implied. And so then all of a sudden I realized, okay, I know what's missing. It's the Z. It's not or. The eagle is the Zor. It's the Zor. Because why? Because Zorro, or zero, we can see clearly defines the sun and the moon soaring through the sky, right? The Zorro. You hear the sound? You get the picture?
Yeah. Wow. I'm
you can't miss it.
Yeah,
I'm just right?
Just wondering why, how, where does like the meaning of the word "or" fit into that? Like how?
Well, you look at the symbol. You see, when I said Zorro, immediately you can relate. When you add one more letter, it's the O at the end is in reference to sun and moon. There's two O's in there, so they're clearly a representation of sun and moon. But then there's the R in the middle for the royal. So therefore, it means the royal O's. But then you have the Z in the front, and that's the symbol of the lightning strike, or the ultimate symbol of power. That's why it's at the end of the alphabet, and associated with the T, the cross. They're both associated together. So it's the Zorro. You can put a silent T in front of it, and so it's the Zorro is the sun and moon flying through the sky, and the Zor is the sky itself, but they would be referring to the eagle as the Zor because he is the king of the sky, the Zor. You see, so the same name for the high flight would also be the same for the eagle, for the bird that flies higher, has an eye that can see farther than any other bird. And so that's, the primitive. Remember, one word was worth many other, meanings of thought,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here in Canberra, in Russell, which are a bunch of officers dedicated to the Defence Force, is an obelisk with an eagle sitting on top of it. Just just saying.
Yeah, well, the eagle is a symbol also of war, and so it is it brings on life.
Just the way they switch everything, and use it.
But I got this one etymological dictionary by Carl Darling Buck, and it's a dictionary of selected synonyms in the principles of Indo-European languages. And right out the gate, this guy's got he's deep. He did a dictionary like nobody else, putting all the similar words of each word for house or school or whatever word, and then goes into 20 different languages. Language is not the right word, but we can use it, the diction of 20 different tongues, and puts them all right next to each other. So as soon as you look at it, boom, you can see all the variables of the spelling of a word in each, from Romanian to Latin to German to Greek, and so over 20, an average of 22, and so he says here in his opener, he says, how do we get ideas? The kind of thinking that distinguishes man from brute has been built up by and is dependent upon the use of symbols. That's what I hammer, that. Since vocal utterances attained at a higher development than gesture as a means of communication, these symbols are, in fact, the words. Okay? So the symbols are the words. And that's where it starts. So it's knowing the symbol. And therefore, when I'm giving these very unique spelling of words, it is based on the symbol. And so just like the we talk about the word, who they pronounce Yahweh, YHWH, and you hear me say no, it's a V, YHBH. The V is easy to deduce, or when the men go to war, they don't put a W on their sleeve, right? They put a V on their sleeve, right? Yeah. The birds don't fly in W formation; they fly in V formation.
They do.
Yeah, and the Bradley tanks even have a V on them, so they're telling us, although it's an upside down V, you see, because they turned our world upside down, but the V is the prime symbol of the Virgin Light, but yet they turned it into a whore. But they still make her look good, right? Columbia, she looks pretty good on Columbia Pictures and Columbia Records, that woman with the torch in her hand. And so we've got to be able to read the symbol. So reading these words, these words starts with knowing these paramount symbols. Like, in other words, it's not an eagle, it is an eagle. They switched out the A and put an E there. But interesting, because now in the Indo-Germanic, I just got the real more defined meaning for the E, and it does mean that which is far away. So the E is saying, the bird that's far away, but it is the A gull. So there's trickery, on the highest level with our words, and so this is why our translations are so so terrible. It is they've literally smashed our words. They have destroyed our ability to communicate properly, and they had to because we could be set free. That's why at one point they took the Apocrypha out of the King James Version, because the Apocrypha just had too much wisdom literature in there and told too much truth. And I got a stack of books in front of me here that I was building since we got together on Sunday, and when I was going to go through it on Tuesday, we couldn't get together. So I didn't want to lose this presentation, and I'll see how far I can get, because I now, thanks to Bullinger, I now know that I now have a second witness on how bad the King James really is. He really lays it on the table like nobody else. So I'm going to get to that coming up, and therefore it's a hands down that the King James is basically the most rotten translation that ever was produced, other than maybe the NIV, which is sort of like the the final stop for the King James version. But I just wanted to give an example of a translation. So in other words, and I just was able to do it this morning, and it just popped into my head so clearly, because the Father has led me down this trail all my life, but now my speed is ramped up because of the urgency of our time, the need for everybody to know as much as possible. They'll never be able to have the ability to figure these things out, and so he put me here to help share with those our wonderful friends here that are tuned in, and so I just saw it really big in the last 2 days, about how bad here's a perfect example, if you can see it, how bad the translations really are. We're talking about, as you know, I've proved out that the Hebrew, our Old Testament was never in Hebrew; it was in Aramaic.
Yeah.
And then the priesthood, when they came out of Babylon, that's when they switched it out into the Hebrew, and then they made sure they kept it that way all the way up to Switzerland, and then the Masoretes with the Masoretic text, with the Old Covenant, the Old Testament, and went into the King James, totally controlled by Mazars. Mazars, original word for Egypt. The Masoretes and the Masoretic text out of Switzerland. Knights Templars, all that up there hanging out, banking. Swiss Guard. What is Swiss Guard doing guarding the Pope? Let's put two and two together. Switzerland is the high echelon of the one world order, although they come out of the East. But anyway, so just realize this is how bad the translations really are. If people can get the picture, we're talking about our translation coming out of and we'll use the Old Covenant, Old Testament as a prime example, because it's older. Okay, and so but the same rule applies to the New Testament, what we call the New Testament, which I call the original everlasting covenant. That was what was intended, but unable to be received by Israel, and that's why ultimately they were dissolved and bankrupt. And so we're talking about going from Aramaic, then into Hebrew, then into Greek, and then into English, right? Because the Septuagint came, about 300 BC in Alexandria with the Ptolemy dynasty. After Alexander the Great died, then the Greek Empire split into four parts, and the Ptolemies took over Mazar, falsely called Egypt, and they established Alexandria and the great library there. And so Ptolemy wanted to get what they call the Hebrew Bible into the library in Alexandria. So he commissioned the 72 scribes, 12, I think it was 12 out of each tribe, or was it 6? 6 out of each tribe? Yeah, 6 out of each tribe. And they went and did the transliteration. And so we're talking about going from Aramaic into Hebrew, into Greek, into English. Okay, so a minimum of 3 phases from 3 different, or 4 or at worst, depending upon how it happened. So literally, it would be an impossibility. It would be an impossibility to, go that distance, and maintain the integrity of the document. So I'll give an example right here of one translation, because as you know, I'm talking on the programming. I prove out that we weren't made from red dirt, but we were made from the fiery magma of Mother Earth. we were brought out, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm listening. I'm on the edge of my chair already. Desert.
Okay, so let me open my book. I couldn't remember which one I put the note in, but here it is. So it's by comparison, and it's also by knowing. You know, it's a long process here, but it all came to me the other day. And in other words, I've known it, but I never did the transliteration. And it was simply because I was not inspired yet, and then I was inspired about 2 days ago because I'm learning so much of the etymologies in words, and I'm coming to another level. And so I was able to then all of a sudden see clearly, and we're talking in chapter 2 of Genesis, verse 6, and in there it reads like this. But a this is Lamsa. This is George Lamsa. And he says, but a powerful spring. Now in the King James it says a mist. A mist came forth. But in the Philo he said a fountain. So notice there's differences, right?
Yeah.
One is a fountain.
Yeah.
One says a mist. Mist is, I looked up mist in the Oxford Dictionary, and it said it means mystery. So they're acknowledging with the word mist that they're creating a mystery, and they're not going to reveal it. And then in Lamsa it says a powerful spring. That's the Aramaic, okay? So the Aramaic is really the closest, and although it's not there. Okay, but a powerful spring gushed out of the earth and covered the face of the entire ground. It said watered, but it really means covered, not watered, because it wasn't water, it was fiery magma. And then what happened in the very next verse, and then the Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, formed Adam out of the soil of the earth, but it wasn't out of the soil, it was out of that magma, because this is how it should read, verse 6, in the chapter 2 of Genesis. It would read like this. And the powerful mountain exploded way above the earth, and its magma spread out across the face of the ground. And the Yahweh, who is the great Elohim, formed Adam, out of the magma of the earth. It breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the blood of the earth, that's what Adam means, not red dirt, but blood of the earth became a living being. How do you like them apples?
That's amazing. You just
Well,
you just made me think of something. Sorry to butt in.
That's right.
Like we've been taught to fear magma and like everything associated with that, like the volcanoes and all of that, and so that would be part of the big deception, the lies, to fear all of that and to fear death, and being burned and all that sort. You know what I'm getting at.
Well, to lend support to the doctrine would be to go to the last book now of the scriptures, and where did it say that all liars go? They go into the lake that burns with fire and sulfur.
Yeah.
Brimstone and sulfur. So what is a lake that burns with fire and sulfur? A volcano.
Yeah.
Meaning that you came from matter and you're going back into the elements that you came from, because you were not worthy to transcend this world. And so there it is. If we can see and read it for ourselves, because all the water was already here on the earth. The fountain that gushed forth was obviously on the land, and so that's the problem we have with going through 3 different generations of language. Again, to use a bad term, it's hard to say it right in our modern, but the diction that we use, the translations. So I'm going to give one more example here. I'm kind of winging it because I've got some more material here to go through, and I'm trying to just, I opened it in a way, I didn't really know which way I was going, but here I am. And so I was reading about Noah's Ark today in that Yahweh book that I got that was produced 1,000 years ago with the Yahweh text that was of the Southern Kingdom. Okay, so it's one of the books that was used to create what they call the five books of Moses, but it predates it. It's older. And so in here it says, and Noah, and there's more I can talk about, and I don't want to get lengthy here, so I'm going to just give the bottom line of the translation, the transliteration, because I got a ways to go, and I could give analysis why it's deeper. In other words, there's more to what I'm going to share. So and it says here, and the sons of Noah is Nova, that went forth from the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth. And Ham is the father of Ganun. Canaan is Ganun. And so there's a whole story in what I just read right there that I'm not even going to get into, but it will be obviously elemental in this transliteration project, as all the terminology is relevant. But it says that these three were the sons of Nova, and of these was the entire earth overspread. Okay, but now I know the truth, that's not true. That when the Mediterranean Sea flooded in from the Atlantic Ocean, people survived on the northern shore of Europe and on the southern shore of Africa and in the Levant. Okay, the world was not destroyed. The entire world didn't flood. If it did, where did the water go? We have to look at how Yahweh uses nature. He used the oceans for his advantage. And the Mediterranean Valley was a low-lying valley below sea level. And once Africa and Europe split apart 5,250, 300 years ago, then the ocean flooded in, and that created a surge of ocean water that went 4,000 miles all the way to the Levant, all the way to Palestine and Israel, and swelled up onto the land 100 miles plus into Turkey. And then when the water receded, that's why they find the Ark, Noah's Ark, in southern Turkey, because it was just 100 miles from the shoreline of the Mediterranean where the boat was found. That's the surge, that's the evidence of what I'm saying is true. Now, what it really said was not that all these, from them, the entire earth was overspread, because there was people living all over the world. There was a pyramid civilization all around the world established way before the flood. Okay? So people were here, and they were here after the flood. It was that immediate area of 4,000 miles. The biggest flood on the earth is still on the map. It's called Mediterranean Sea, the sea in the middle of the land. What land? Oh, Europe and Africa. It was all one body. Even David Attenborough, the foremost naturalist, did a documentary once showing how Africa and Europe bumped together and split apart every 100,000 years. It flooded in. It filled up. And then evaporated over a 70,000 year period when it closed back up at the gap. So it's been going on. They got all the evidence, more to the story. But anyway, so what it really says was, and the entire earth was overpopulated, that's the lie of the priesthood. What it really said was about, because when you know the story, which is something I'll have to get into on another program, the real story behind Asham, which is Shem, and also Melchizedek, and Ham, which means the breath of the many, and of Japheth, who was really the firstborn. He's always mentioned last in our scriptures, but in the book of Jasher, it shows that he was cleared as the firstborn. And so what's going on? There's a story there. Okay? And so it's about these character types. And so what it really said there not was of these was the entire earth then repopulated, but that and through these three, the entire earth was to be influenced. You see? Because it was the story of Noah. It was the story of Yeshua. It was the story of Melchizedek. It was the story of Adam. All of their stories was to be an influence on the entire world. And when they came into the view of Mount Ararat, and it was said, and they came into Ararat, what it meant was they came into the second great age. It was a code, as well as describing that they were in the face of the mountain. Ararat, the two R's, power, AT, for the alphabet for creation, symbol of creation. The second great creation, or the second great age, AT. Okay, so but nobody knows how to read because they didn't teach us to read in school, so we don't get the pictures correctly, and we actually think that Noah's Ark ended up 15,000, 16,000 feet on top of a mountain when there's not enough water on the planet to get it there. You know, they got everybody looking in the wrong direction, buying into whatever they've been told. They've never figured anything out, and they don't want to. They'd rather have somebody tell them what is what and what is not. You know, so we'll do that here. We'll tell people what we've been lied to about and what the alternative potential is. Okay, and it doesn't matter to me whether anybody gets it or not. You know, because I can't make anybody see anything. I'm just here reporting. We have to see and read things for ourselves. Any want to jump in at all, Ninja, before I continue?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Unless you want to rest your voice for a minute. I have a list of questions.
Well,
I'm just looking for it.
I'm already going here. I can go.
Yeah, I'm looking for my list. Yeah, you can keep going if you like.
I want to welcome our new listeners out there, and if we have any, and certainly our wonderful friends that have come by also from my channel as well when I was broadcasting. So I don't know. I think I should really get to the expose first because I got words here, but I know what happens when they run out of steam. So I think I should start here. Okay, let me take this look here, and I got to remember what I was looking for, and I think let me just open the page. I think I'll get it here. I got these tabs in this book here. All right, yeah. Oh, yeah, okay. So after we had our last discussion, and I talked about how the Torah didn't exist. What they're calling Torah, did not exist in because it was the Ten Commandments, and they weren't calling it the Torah. They were calling it the Ten Commandments, and they didn't have all these code, rules, and regulations. The entire what they call five books of Moses came out of Babylon. It was put together in Babylon, and once again, as I've proved out on my other presentations, there's a bunch of lies in there, and the big one is, when he says to Moses, that I never revealed my true name to, anyone prior to this time, and now I'm revealing it to you. Well, that was a lie, because obviously he revealed his name to Seth. He revealed his name, and probably, well, without question, to Hadam and also Abel, but then certainly to the patriarchs, to Abraham, and to Isaac, and also to Yaakov, who is the seed of light, and then took on the title of Eshareol. He revealed his name to all of them, and we have it in our scriptures. So when people get to Moses, Moe Shaul, and they're reading him, and then it says, well, I never revealed my name to anyone prior to you, Moe Shaul, and everybody reads it, and they never get it. They're not deep. Nobody's reading deeply, because immediately after I read Fenton, it was going through the scriptures one more time after 40 years. After 40 years of study, and read it again, and it was like, wait a minute, I just read where he revealed himself to all the royal line prior to Moe Shaul coming and taking him out of Mazer. And so blatant lie. It's the priesthood, okay? It's not the scriptures. It's not Yahweh who's perpetrating the lies here. It's the ones who are controlling the Mazarites, the ones calling themselves Egypt, who gave us the Masoretic texts that are lying to us. We're the Goyim. They hate our guts. They follow the Babylonian Talmud. You think they're going to give us a pure line of scripture, Ninja?
No, I don't think they are. And that's amazing, Desert, because I'm just looking for something that I wrote down about exactly that. I wrote it down yesterday. Yeah, and I can't find it. And it's
don't
about
worry,
the.
as they say down under, okay?
I can remember. Kind of.
Okay.
I'll keep looking while I'm talking. It's about I wanted to know more about what people like. I know I've read it, but a long time ago. About the two witnesses. I was curious about the two witnesses and the marriage somewhere in Revelations, and I couldn't find anything about the marriage, but I found something about the two witnesses. I found an interpretation from like, obviously this isn't going to be correct. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I still can't find it.
All right, well,
I'm
hang
getting
on,
close.
because we'll save that for the latter part, okay? Because I'm on the roll here with exposing the criminal nature of these people, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, no, find your notes, and then we can follow up at the end. But let me get through this because I've got a little bit of yardage here left to go. I've got some major expose here, okay? Because I have the full, I have the Kabbalah in a full volume, and I never read it. I just saw it. I mean, I've read part of it. I've read part of it because you got to know these people. You got to know they just like the Vatican. They're hiding the keys that belong to us, and so you study some of that just to see some of the possible elements that they might be. In other words, they say some truth,
Yeah.
even though they're a bunch of liars, but they're holding on to the keys of truth. And so I have the essential Kabbalah, which is like the condensed version, the short version. So I just looked at it the other night after we did that presentation because I was kind of inspired to I wanted to look up Torah, to go in there and to. And so I went in there, and there is here it is. Okay, why do we utter letters and move them around? I, a fledgling, will tell you what I experienced. Know, my friends, that from the beginning I felt a desire to study Torah. I learned parts of it and some of the rest of the Bible, but I found no one to guide me in the study of the Talmud. You see, he said he was looking, his desire was to study the Torah, and what does he say? I found no one to guide me in the study of the Talmud. But not for a lack of teachers, but because I longed to be home, to enjoy being with my father and mother. Finally, God, why he would use God, a code word, when he's so deep, he should know the sacred name, but he doesn't want to use it. Wonder why. But finally, God gave me strength to search for Torah. Oh, okay, and I went out and searched and found. For several years, I've studied the Talmud abroad. You see how he's like it's like, not saying it directly but indirectly. He says one way, I'm looking for Torah. Next moment he's saying, but I've studied the Talmud abroad for several years. Okay, continuing down a little further. If I had not previously acquired strength of faith, through which the little I had learned of Torah and Talmud. You see? So they give the Bible lip service, but it's really all about the Torah, where they say it's okay to have sex with 3-year-old boys and girls, and we're the goyim, and we're not actually on the same level they are. That we're cattle, we're animals. Therefore, it's not even murder to kill us. That's what they're taught. That's the Torah. Because the Torah, as I found the word Torah in the Etymological Dictionary, and remember I said the other day, it means bull. I found it in the Etymological Dictionary. The Torah is bull. Okay? They fed it to bull, just like when Moshe Shaul went on the mountain, and he comes down and they made a bull, not a calf. See, they changed the words again. Let's call it correctly what it was. Not a calf, it was a bull. And now they come at us with the Torah, saying we're supposed to follow Torah. That's even what they said when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. They're coming at them with the full bull, and it's Toro, Toro, Toro. Okay? And so, a little further, the essence of Torah, because of that view, the man from the mountain claimed to be a master of wheat, master of Torah. Master of wheat means one who has mastered the oral traditions. What? A master of wheat, master of Torah, master of wheat means one who has mastered the oral tradition. Well, the only oral tradition I know about is the Talmud. One more.
Wowing. Wowing.
You see, just when the Father put me on the trail, and I already revealed that what they're calling Torah came out of Babylon, now let them speak for themselves, right?
Yeah.
Let them speak for themselves. Yeah. All the words of Torah means secrets. Well, that's not what Yeshua told us. He said that everything that is in secret would be revealed openly. And there's nothing hidden that cannot be revealed. And so he didn't go, he said everything he said when they took him to the midnight trial. He said, why do you question me? Ask those who heard me. Everything I say openly. Nothing in secret have I said. Right?
Right.
But here, all the words of Torah in bold letters, secrets. A basic hermeneutical principle of the Zohar. Whoa, wow, the Zohar. Let's look in our scriptures and see if we can find the Zohar, since that's the basic hermeneutical principle. Okay? I don't find the Zohar in my scriptures, but it is a part of the Babylonian Talmud system. Okay? So if you want Torah, then you're eating bull. Okay? And so now in regard to Aramaic, let's find out if I was correct. Well, of course, as I'm just going to rehash it one more time, that although the Hebrew nations spoke a dialect that they call Hebrew because they were Hebrews, but they all spoke Aramaic. In other words, the Hebrew writing that they were using was the same universal Aramaic script that everyone was using, including the Phoenicians, including the Greeks. Okay, it evolved by the time it got to Greece and got to the Phoenicians. It became a more modern script. But when we go back into the primitive, it's still all the same. Just like the letters on your driver's license, at least here in America, which is all capital letters, is nothing other than the perfected by the Kabbalists, because it's in our face, and they love to put it in our face because they know we can't read the symbols as to what they really mean. But I will give the interpretation here in the days ahead as we get back in broadcasting. That these are these capital letters, what they call Phoenician, predate the Phoenician. They are the original Aramaic script, and so even though the seed of Abraham and before him Noah, Enoch, they were all using this primitive script. It was common throughout the East, the ancient world, and because it was the Aramaic, and so the Hebrew didn't come. We find when the Hebrew came in the Apocrypha in the second book of Esdras, who they used another code word again because it was Ezra. Why do they call him Esdras in the Apocrypha? You see, their code is all over the place. The evidence of their trickery is everywhere. Esdras, first and second Esdras, is Ezra, the high priest that was in Babylon during the exile in approximately 500 BC. And so at the time Ezra was told to fast for 21 days. At that time, and the best translation that shows most accurately, even though it's all controlled and it's all made so you can't really get the picture, in the New Revised Standard Version, which interestingly enough is the Catholic version, but nonetheless, with all the footnotes in there, they really try to make themselves look better than everybody else, trying to give it more of a scholarly work. In there, it actually says most clearly that Ezra received from Yahweh a new script, and this new script is what we call the Hebrew square root. Those funny letters that you can't even begin to memorize what they look like each other, and you can't figure out which one is which.
Yeah.
Which is nothing other than a stinking code, But we don't see the one that was given to Ezra, mind you, because what we see today in our modern time is nothing other. We're talking about 2,500 years later. Okay, it's not what was given to Ezra. What was given to Ezra, we don't see. It was similar. We could say it was similar, but all we know is that it's under the control of the Khazarian Jews, and it is a Yiddish. It is a Yiddish script. It's under the control of the people who will call themselves Israel, but are not Israel, but are Jews, and they speak Yiddish, and so that's what we have today. But you can see the example of what I'm talking about in that square root. So that is not the Aramaic, and that came out of Babylon, and therefore Israel was already gone. Israel was banished and dissolved in 730 BC, and so in 450 BC, approximately 300 years later, then the Judeans, not Israel, but the Judeans, the small tribes came back from Babylon to rebuild the temple, Judah, and so Israel was still gone, but they brought the script back with them, but it was now a rewriting of the Aramaic scriptures. So the Aramaic scriptures were going to go through a rewriting. They killed all the good priests. By the time Herod takes over, he finished off the Maccabean line. He murdered his own wife and his children to make sure he destroyed the Maccabean priesthood line. He thought marrying one of the priesthood women would put him in better favor with the Judeans, but nonetheless he murdered his family, and so therefore the priesthood being corrupt, and of course not legitimately Israel either, and we're into commerce and changed the sacred name. The best evidence of the fact that they manipulated our scriptures and destroyed our original truth is that they took out the sacred name and put in the pagan god Adonai. Adonai, or pronounced correctly, Donai, or Donai, because it's totally a corrupt word, which is also the Phoenician god that demands blood. Okay, and Donai backwards is India. It's an anagram for India.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the evidence. It's all prima facie evidence that what I'm saying is true and correct about the fact that our scriptures were destroyed. And so all we can try to do now is to piece back, and the only way we can do it is by knowing the primitive roots, by knowing the essence of our story, and by reading it over and over, and then getting on our knees before Yeshua and Yahweh to receive their light, and by receiving the light, because that's what happened to me. It started by being able to. It all opened up to me with the alphabet. It started with the letters, and then from the letters, it continued to compound, and I began to see the parent root forms, and then from the parent root forms, they built into from 2-letter forms to 3-letter forms, and then I learned at one point that they continued to engineer our words outside the Vatican at a place called the College of Abbreviators, run by the Jesuit Curii, where they put the cure in your eye, and so this is our legacy. This is what has happened to us, and this is why we don't see true spirituality.
Yeah.
When we see 600 different versions of Christianity, and it's because that is no better term defines it than Babylon. I call it Baskin Robbins. What flavor do you want? You can have it your way. But there is only one way. It says there's only one Lord, one faith, one baptism, to use their pagan terminology. So let me see what I'm doing here with my notes. I've got a book in front of me, and I don't even know why. Oh, it's the King James. The King James Bible. Because so I'm going to give evidence now. Further that their signature is all over our scriptures. I'm talking about the Yiddish-speaking Jews of today, that the Metzerites, which is the original word for Egyptians. Okay, so therefore somehow they are claiming to be also of the Pharaonic line. Okay, so I had learned several decades ago, watching a TV program that called themselves something like the Prophecy Club or Prophecy TV program, whatever. A guy named Church was on there, and his buddy. And they always have all the money, so they always have the best production, right? Can't afford to broadcast hardly enough or afford a computer. Have to rely on friends listening in, but they've got all the money. We don't have any money, but we do get it done on a song of a wing and a prayer.
We do.
And that's the good news. But the big productions, they got everybody. And look at that production. They get captured. Captured by the big productions. All the flash and the graphics and all. Boy, these guys wouldn't lie to me, would they? Of course not. They're not Jesuits or Masons, are they? No, they couldn't be. They got millions of dollars. They're okay. Good. The Lord has blessed them. But and I bought into it. For a while bit into it as well, because we're all coming at it from not knowing.
Yeah.
And that's the worst place to come from, is not knowing, until finally, after years of study, and experience, then finally you wake up to the truth. So the story goes, in this Jewish banking control of our translations, the Metzerite text, what they now call Hebrew, which originally was in Aramaic, but now it's all Hebrew, and everybody just loves the Hebrew, loves Israel, can't stop foaming at the mouth, want to kiss the boots of Israel for some reason, and love Hebrew. Why? Our scriptures never was in Hebrew. Never was. Okay? That's the truth. And so now when we got this TV program promoting this special book they wanted to sell everybody about the book of Genesis, and how in there it was called the book had something to do with the menorah of truth or something. But in there, in the presentation on the TV program, they talked about how in the book of Genesis in the Hebrew, every 50th word was a GH, and it was and they didn't tell you what it meant. I know what it means now. The GH is the symbol pronounced 8, like the number 8, and it means return. And so you see the GH in certain words as a silent symbol, like the word light, L-I-G-H-T, right? But you don't really pronounce it. You got a long I and you go right over to the T. It's light. You could say L-I-T-E. L-I-T-E would be light, but there's a G-H in it, right?
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And so you see it also in other words. What?
Oh, I'm just looking at words on the chat. There's a couple of comments for you as well, but I was waiting.
Okay, well, let me get through this. I might have saved your comment and copy it and paste it back in when we get through this, okay? Because I've got a ways to go yet. Be better for me to get it out and make sure we don't get distracted from the rhythm here. So like in thought, T-H-O-U-G-H-T, thought of return. So the G, so it means return. It's a mantra. And the 50 is a jubilee. And so every 50th word in the Hebrew is return, 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 return. You see? And so we also find the GH, interestingly enough, on the Declaration of Independence. In the word America, if anybody wants to pull up right now on Google, do Google search for the Declaration of Independence. I can give the analysis off the top of my head. I can't refer you to my website, but it's not up yet. And so if you go look at Declaration of Independence, and these United States of America is the title line, and United is in small, and then you got America is big, States of America. These United, then big letters, States of America. That's the original name for America, not United States of America, but States of America. Nobody talks about that either. yet it's right there in bold letters, States of America, and nobody puts their thinking cap on and says, wait a minute, it never was called United States of America. It's called States of America, but nobody gets it. And so when you see the word America, you'll notice that, by the way, are you looking at it, Ninja? Are you able to pull it up?
I probably am, but I don't want to mess with anything because...
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay, not a problem. So for those who might be looking or can look later, you'll notice that the A in America doesn't look right. It looks funny. Okay? And so what it really looks like is an H. Right?
Okay. Yep.
Looks like an H, and then right in front of it, it's got a funny swirl that like a style, as if it's a curl, like a Fibonacci symbol.
Yeah, I can picture what you're saying. Yeah.
And so if you turn it upside down, you'll see it's actually an H, or excuse me, the letter G. And so what you have for the first letter of the word America is a GH, which means return, meaning when the Illuminati on May Day, just in case they get in trouble, that's their code word. They claim they founded America 2 months before the July 4th, 1776. And so the reason they put that occultic symbol on there was meaning that they were going to pretend our American freedom, while at the same time they were going to reel it back in after they were ready to close up shop and pull out the ship of state. You see, it was all a charade from the beginning. The GH, meaning return. We're going to give it to you. We're going to make you think you got freedom, sucker. And then when we're done with you, we're going to set up our banks and our little chapels, and we're going to reel it all back in with our secret societies, with our Freemasons and our Catholic institution, Knights Templars and Lights of Malta, and the whole chocolate malt. That's what they did. It's the greatest scam on earth, and nobody can read the code. Remember, Confucius said, signs and symbols rule the world, not words nor law. So it's in the symbols within these words. So I showed it to you where it is on the Declaration of Independence, where it is in the Hebrew script in the book of Genesis. I'm getting a call coming in. Are you still there, Ninja?
I'm still here.
Okay. So you see what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay? That it's a code. GH is pronounced 8. And as you see in the number 8, there's 2 circles, a higher and a lower. One is the upper world, one's the lower. The Jews claim to be the true Zion. But, that's what we saw in the movie The Matrix, right? Zion. They talk about Zion, it's underground, right? So you see, while we think they're the good guys, that's our Zion, it has a double meaning.
Yeah.
It's their Zion. They're the ones who are underground, right?
Yeah.
Doing the deal.
Yeah.
And so we like Neo, right? We think Neo's our guy, but yet when we see him in the second Matrix, we see him flying in the air and through the air doing the Superman thing, and at the same time, he's wearing a Jesuit robe. You see, because bullets couldn't hurt him. That was the same thing in the movie in the Superman, and also with the big hats on his chest for the serpent, and then also we see it in the Exorcist. When Max von Sydow is going around Iraq before he comes to Georgetown, home of the Jesuits, Georgetown University near Washington D.C. He's being confronted by some Iraqis with some guns, and they put the guns down. He's got bullet holes in his windshield, but yet they pull their guns down when they see, it's the Jesuit. And so the implication is, of course, bullets can't hurt him either. Because they're the Superman. The Supermen who are also the Suppermen, who they take the White Host on Sundays, but on Saturday, in their dark ritual wearing black, they drink blood. So it's about return. It's about keeping it in their possession. That's what the word attorney means. To return means to keep back into possession of the royal family. You see?
Yep. Wow.
Yeah. It's to keep it. So they throw it out there like they give out the mortgages with the Jewish banking, And then after they get you to sign by yourself on a contract, they don't sign anything. It's a unilateral contract. You never signed it. And then when they're ready, they reel it back in and take the house away from you.
Yeah.
And they'll rather let it stand vacant or sell to some Freemason for $100 on the market, you know, in the auction, rather than let you live in it and work out a deal with you to stay in it. No, they don't want you to stay in it. Their intention is to keep America homeless and to impoverish them. That's what banking does. That's what the Whiplash was all about. If you remember Bullwinkle and Rocky, you know. Yeah, Boris Badenoff. Remember, he wasn't bad enough, but he was pretty bad. And so now I forgive me. You know, I've got to throw a little humor in this when it's so bad, and I've been doing this for so long, Ninja. You know, because
that's what keeps us going. We need love and laughter along the way.
Well,
wows and giggles.
Yeah. So I'm trying to. It is so mind-blowing, the game they play. These people that hate our guts, you know, we're told to love our enemies. They are told in their Babylonian Talmud to hate everybody. And if you kill them, it's okay. You know, it's okay. Yeah. So that's what they're doing like in Paradise, California. The Zionist movement with the Vatican, all and the Hindu, all working together to destroy mankind because they are done with this now. They only wanted our labor. They're done with it pretty well. And so we now go to the Psalms, the book of Psalms, to get back on track. I'm going to now show you the Masoretic text signature. Okay, the signature of the Masoretic text, because in the very center of our Bible, which is full of bull, but that's okay. You know, that's why it's called the Bible, because the bull is there with us one more time, just like the Torah means bull, and they put the bull on the altar because they love the papal bull, you know, and they're following the papal bull all the way to the bank. And so in the very center chapter of the entire Bible, the very middle chapter, if you count them both ways, is Psalm 119. Okay? And if anybody will go into the King James of Psalm 119 in particular, I'm not going to open up all my other scriptures to look and compare, but we're talking about the code book, King James. The King James, the Freemason, who also wrote the Book of Beasts prior to giving us the occultic version of our scriptures, called the King James Authorized. That's the word that got everybody authorized. When they heard it was authorized, it must be authorized because it's authorized, you know? Like they can't think of any, figure anything out for themselves, but they accept everything they're told. Just because, my preacher wouldn't lie to me, my mom and dad wouldn't lie to me, my teacher, nobody would lie to me. Right now, of course, nobody's lying. Your politicians love you, and so,
yeah.
I think I'm ready for a retirement now, after this part, because I'm just, the lies are so great, they're like the old axiom is that, in order to, they had to create 1 million lies to cover the first lie.
Yeah.
And once you begin to see the lies, you can't stop seeing them.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And another axiom is, they don't care what the answers are, just as long as you're asking the wrong questions. And we need to start asking the right questions. We need to start questioning everything. Everything, because it's all a lie.
Yeah.
Everything's a lie.
Exactly.
You want nothing to do with what's out there outside your window, because it's death. Death is what they're bringing us. And so the only thing we know is we have a connection with the one who made all things, and that's the good news. But if we go into our book of Psalms 119, we'll find their signature. Again, their seal of approval of the Babylonian Talmud, of their Torah, their torrential torrents of tyranny and whatever you want to call it, the tornado, the whirlwind. Okay, because in the middle, in the book Psalms 119, they put the Hebrew alphabet in front of every 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I've got the New International. 4, 5, 6, 7, I've got the New International in front of me, and it's got exactly the same. Yep.
Yeah, and it's after every. Listen to this, and it's after every 8 verses. Every 8 verses, I'm counting, and it's at 1, 2.
It is 2.
4, 5, 6, and there's the number of return again. It's another code for the GH. So after every letter of the alphabet, it's 8 more verses, and that's another return, 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 meaning they, the Babylonian Talmuds, intend to keep everything in their possession and control, and don't they run the bank? Jewish banking. You see? The Hebrew.
Wow.
Who are not Hebrew. Israel, who are not Israel. Okay? So, I just gave you the evidence, because if you look at the other scriptures, in other words, if you forget the King James and you go back to the most ancient Greek or Aramaic, or go to look in the Aramaic scriptures, you won't find that Hebrew every 8 verses stuck in there by Jewish scribes. Okay? You won't find it because it's not a part of our original scriptures, and that's the prima facie evidence of that. Okay? Prima facie. So, continuing on with this story. So I got that, and then the meaning. Okay, yeah, that's another story though. I'll save that one. That's a good one. And then now let me go into Bullinger, because I had the numbers in Scripture and the Message in the Stars by Bullinger for practically 40 years now, and I've read only parts of them. I never had the time to dig into them. And then I learned Bullinger did a major work called Figures of Speech in the Bible, and I had to get it. And thank you to one of our wonderful listeners, I was able to get a copy. And I'm just eating this stuff up, Ninja, as you can tell, because
I know.
I'm on the level. I'm really on the level now where I can read. I can really read it, and I'm getting it in a way like I never got it before, and so it's relevant for everybody.
Yeah, it's amazing.
One of my experiences is for everybody else to benefit from, because nobody will be able to figure this stuff out. It's just that the Father put me on a rather unique journey, and now everybody gets to benefit from it, because we have to see to read things for ourselves. But to be to know the truth. What's the old axiom? To know the truth is to what?
Sorry?
To know the truth is to be
set free.
Set free. Thank you very much. To be set free. And
no worries.
You've been doing your own studying. You're being set free, and you got the picture. So, okay. So this is what Bullinger says in page 986. You got to read a lot of books to get to this one. I always like to read in the back forward, because I've learned a long time ago that some of the deepest meat is at the end of the book, and so especially in the IRS code run by Jewish Banking again, the IRS code, read the back of the book first, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll figure it all out. Okay, don't read through the 18 volumes. Okay, you'll be bored and we'll never get there. So to supply, so this is what Bullinger is saying here. Okay, to supply. I don't have to read that part. Let me see. Where do I start? Oh, here we go. Okay, when we speak of the authorized version, that's your KJV. Sounds like Kentucky Fried Chicken. When we speak of the authorized version of the English Bible, published 1611, we are immediately confronted with the fact that 2 editions were published in that same year. Whoa! What? 2 versions were published in the same year. I was so overwhelmed. I had no idea. I knew Bullinger was good, but after I saw this giant volume he produced, the guy was a genius. There was nobody like Bullinger, okay? Back then, these people were really good students, and where today we're now all just, studying Pig Latin, and we're all brain dead and looking at iPhones, But back there, these people were real scholars. And this was the all-time scholar, next to Fenton. Gerard Fenton, who gave us the Fenton Bible, 1905, the most important modern-day version so far, until I get done with what I can do. But he says that, 2 editions were published in the first year, 1611, and both are in the British Museum. Footnote, there can be no doubt as to which of these is the original edition, as one of them contains serious printer errors in Exodus in particular, which the other then corrected. But this must therefore have been printed subsequently through that same year. Okay, so continuing, many subsequent editions followed. Which contain very many not unimportant changes. Not unimportant, but very important is what he means. Some of these may be attributed to oversight arising from human infirmity. You know, maybe they were sick. I'm sure they were. But most of them are changes deliberately made and introduced without any authority. Without any authority, that means no authorization. And by men whose names are, for the most part, unknown. Who were these masked men? Some of these emendations, some of these emendations have been discarded in later editions. And some notable misprints, but many have been retained. The Cambridge Folio edition of 1629 and 1638 appear to have been a complete revision, but though wholly unauthorized, it cannot be doubted that the work was well done. Sure, it looked pretty good in print with all that color and splash in the pan, and moreover was greatly needed on account of the corrupt state of the then current editions. The corrupt state of what we call sacred scriptures, right? The corrupt state of then current editions by Bullinger. The parallel, and then I'll just jump down here. Some of its emendations have dropped out of later editions, while some of its mistakes have been perpetuated, and it is clearly acknowledged by those who are honest within scholarship. It's well known that there are over 20,000 outright acknowledged mistakes, but it's probably more like 100,000. Okay. Well, when we're talking about words, of course it is. We can just throw out the entire book from that standpoint. Okay. So, and continuing to write at the end here, among the former, the word and okay, that's no point in reading that. And then they take out, of course, the word Yahweh. They take out the word Elohim.
Of
course. They give it the Lord God.
Yeah.
Lord God. Well, who is the Lord God? I don't want that. I want the original. I want Yahweh, who is the great Elohim. And so that's Bullinger. Thank you, E.W. Bullinger. I can't get over, this enormous work that he has produced that gives us so much insight into, the truth. The truth. This is hands down, okay? There is no argument anymore. Just for anybody who's not heard it, go to Psalm 46 and count down 46 words, and go to the bottom of Psalm 46, count up 46 words, and you'll get Shakespeare. Shake coming down, spear going up, and the spear shaker was Francis Bacon, who took on the pen name William Shakespeare, and they used the King James Bible for multiple purposes, for mind control, as well as to standardize the English, because English was going nowhere unless they got control of it, and they used the scriptures, of course, put it in every pulpit of, in every county in England in order to standardize English so that it would become the platform for the new One World Order that they were going to utilize for the island nation that conquered the world. A little island conquered the world. Isn't that a joke, Ninja? A little island?
Yeah. It's all a joke to it's all a joke to them.
While the Jesuits, they had 2,500 ships in Holland and in the Dutch, the Dutch Navy, and they were the ones who really conquered the world, and then England just took over the ports and played the puppet show,
Yeah.
So I'm looking for my notes. I've got one more to go. And so after I had opened up the Kabbalah short version and got in their own words about the Torah, that the Torah is basically the Babylonian Talmud, the oral and the written version, and that they just got us to think in the great mind control trick that the Torah is the Ten Commandments. Ten Commandments are not the Torah, and in fact the word light, is not in the word Torah, and Torah backwards is the middle word in the middle of the word Pharaoh. There's your Pharaoh sees again, your Pharaoh sees, your Pharaoh shame. So let me turn on a little more light here. Hang on. Need a little more light because I'm now in the Masonic Handbook of Albert Pike, and I had to break it out and just see some things after I went into the Kabbalah, because they follow the Kabbalah in Freemasonry. That's a part of it, And so let me find here where my notes are. Okay, So they're talking about the Zohar, that they follow the Zohar, and that's part of the Babylonian Talmud. So Freemasons are also following the Babylonian Talmud. And but then I flipped the page here on page 323, and it was rather interesting. I got some confirmation of some things. So I'm not going to read it all, but my highlights here. Okay, so Yod, the Yod is the dot, and the dot represents Utah, who they mispronounce as Judah, but it's Utah, and the dot represents the sun. It represents an age. It represents a year. It represents a day. And depending upon the context of the writing, you have to make a determination on how to transliterate that properly. So what he's saying is the Yod, it creates the world. So they're writing in a code, and this is how when I read Philo, I got to read between the lines because I get I already know the truth about creation and about the occult and all these things. Therefore, I can properly read their subliminal doublespeak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can kind of see it, but nowhere near as detailed as what you can. But I can read between the lines. Yeah.
Because they're talking in a code, but I get it.
Yeah.
So what he says here is and the way they already discredit the work is they try in the line right above it. They say the wisdom is the logos that creates. Well, the logos is the sun, and the wisdom comes out of the light of the sun. That's the great Elohim. The logos that creates, that's the sun. Mistaken and personified by Sun and Magus and the succeeding Gnostics. So that's how they then throw mud on this paragraph real quick. They throw mud on it because they don't want anybody to get it. And as soon as somebody reads that, then they might get confused or they might misinterpret what is being said here. But just the next line, it says Yod, it creates the world. Well, Yod is the sun. The Yod is the dot. What's the smallest symbol in all the letters and all the symbols? The smallest letter is the what? The smallest symbol is the...
You asking me? It's the dot.
The dot.
Yeah.
The dot.
Yeah.
The smallest symbol. And in fact, what's interesting is the smallest symbol, Ninja, is the most powerful.
Yeah.
Because if you put dot at the end of a sentence, what does it do?
It finishes the sentence. It ends it.
It stops everything. The dot stops everything, you see? It's the most powerful. It's the only letter that does that, actually, right?
Yeah.
It's a symbol.
Yeah.
And so the dot represents the power of the sun. And so when it says Yod, it creates the worlds. What the word worlds is a code for planets. The sun creates the planets. Thank you very much. They are my second witness to what I've been saying all along, right?
Yeah.
That the sun was the mother star of Venus and Mercury and Earth and the moons, Mars.
Wow.
Earth is the mother star. What he said right here was that Yod, which represents the sun, creates the worlds, which are the planets and the moon. Okay? First, in the divine intellect as an idea, well, that's a good idea, if we can get it in our mind, which invested with form became the fabricated world. Thank you very much. Let's try that again. Yod creates the world. First, in the divine intellect, meaning it was designed by Yahweh, and then we got to get it in our mind as an idea.
Yeah.
It was his idea first.
Yeah.
Which invested with form became the fabricated world. So let's say it another way. The sun, which represents Yahweh, the great logos, it creates the world.
Yeah.
First in the divine intellect and as an idea, which is in the mind of Yahweh, now continuing, which invested with form, now it's got form, became the fabricated world, the universe of material reality. Yod and He. The He is the H, the Yod is the Y, which is yellow for light, the two letters of the ineffable name, the beginning of the tetragrammatron, or the tetragram atom, which is the YH and VH. Okay, the ineffable name of the manifested deity represents the male and the female. The Y represents the male, and the V represents the female. The H represents the earth, and they're all both male and female having a relationship with the bridge, which is the earth, and creating life. Continuing the active and the passive in equilibrium, and the Vav, the V, completes the Trinity, and the triliteral name, the YHV. And I was so grateful for this revelation here because I knew that those who escaped Israel, they came to the Americas and settled in here in Ohio or up in Wisconsin or up in Minnesota. Whenever they found all of these writings of Hebrew, and on the top of all these slate writings, these slate tablets, was the YHV. And I was trying to figure out why didn't they add the H? Why was it YHV? And then what we find out right here, because what I thought was they added the H just as an added, that it was really the three letters.
Yeah.
Also, for symbol of sun, earth, and moon. Everything happens in threes, but in the tetragrammaton they give 4 letters, but you only need 3 to get the picture. The YHV. Okay, sun, earth, moon. There it is. Sun, earth, moon. And it's called the triliteral name and the divine triangle, which with the repetition of the he, which is the 4th letter then, the H again, the breath, becomes the tetragrammaton.
Wow.
So they're playing this tri versus, trilateral theme versus the quadrant theme, and then going down. But I haven't read this since, we were going to do the program. It's been a couple of days, so I'm ad-libbing here, trying to remember where I was going.
Yeah.
Then I'll just jump down. There's only one sentence, and I'm jumping down to my highlight again. So he says, being is being, and Aisha, and here's the word Aisha. In moral dogma, Aisha Yah, Azar, Aisha Yah. And so Azar is the czar, the star, and the Aisha Yah means the royal eye that goes round the star, the royal eye that goes round. Three words. Aisha Yah, Azar, Aisha Yah. The royal eye that goes round the star then possibly could mean the sun or the moon or the earth. I'm not sure what, I can more make out of it. But what he says here then, continuing, this is the principle, the beginning. Okay, the beginning. The beginning was, that is to say, is, was, and will be the Word. Okay? So Aisha, let me get my thought here, I'm looking at this. So the word, that is to say, okay, so it's from the beginning. In the beginning was, that is to say, is, was, will be. He's referring now to the Gospel of John, you see. And what does he say? Will be the Word. That is to say, the reason that speaks. So he's concluding in here, in his Morals and Dogma, to his little puppy about this particular degree of Freemasonry. In the beginning was, will be the Word. Okay, that is to say, read the reason that speaks. So anyway, I find that interesting, that they're telling truth in here, in with all of their lives, because the occultic always are telling some truth, part of the whole nature. Give you a little truth, give you a bunch of lies.
Yeah.
Give you a little truth, give you a bunch of lies. So here on the next page, and this is the last part, then the conviction of all men that God is good led to the belief. Okay, see, now when we're talking about led to a belief, you see what he's saying is that it's a fabrication.
Yeah.
He's not saying it's a literal fact, but led to the belief in a devil, who then he says is the fallen Lucifer, or light bearer, and then Shaitan, the adversary. Shaitan is Hashatan, also known as Araman, and Araman from the Mithraic tradition, and Tufan, I'm not sure where Tufan comes from, as an attempt to explain the existence of evil and make it consistent with the infinite power, wisdom, and benevolence of God. So what he's admitting to here is that the belief in the devil and Lucifer and Satan is all a fabrication of man. You see, you got to read between the lines. And then what he tries to do is to support it by a quote at the end here. What is superior is, in other words, it's doublespeak and it's a reverse of truth. Listen to the big Latin. What is superior is as that which is inferior, and what is below is as that which is what above. To form the marvels for the unity. But the first part was what he said was, what is superior is as that which is inferior. You see, so they're making that which is inferior then as that which is superior. You see, so that's the occult nature of their doublespeak in their books, Morals and Dogma. You don't want morals because you want ethics. Morals means you want more and you want it all. And dogma, is what you don't want either, what you get from religion that lies to you. So anyway, that's the odyssey that we are dealing with on our planet, Ninja. And I think it's time for a break.
Yeah. Wow. I have questions that I have written like before this program, and you've just backed them up all through the stream so far. Desert?
What I do? Answer your questions?
Yeah. Wow.
Right. I'm doing my job then.
Yeah. I will mention a few of them, but we'll have a break first because I have to go through the chat as well. Yeah. So do you want to do that when we get back? We'll have question time.
We can go anywhere you want when we get back. I think I covered. I have a few words I can share, but we'll take care of questions. Or whatever you want to do first, and then we can do follow up with some words if we have time. All right?
Okay. Cool. All right.
And I'm gonna disconnect and then call me back because I don't know why it's telling me I got multiple calls on my phone. So I'm gonna hang up and ring me back. Okay?
Oh yeah, I'll call you back.
Thank you.
All right. We'll just go to a break, guys. We'll be back in about 7 minutes.
yourself. 2, to log or unlog the conference. 3, to record the conference. 4, force increase.
Okay, and we're back. Sorry, I had a few technical issues with the microphone button. Alright, we'll go through the chat and I will relay any questions, comments to Desert. Welcome back, Desert.
Thank you, NinjaCat. Great job today.
No worries. Anytime, Desert. I'm just reading, so if you want to, like, I don't know, hum a tune or
talk about words. You want to talk about something? Or?
Yeah, I'm just looking. I'm trying to find the first one. Do them in order.
Okay. And we can, by the way, we can take a call. We can take a caller. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Just one at a time.
I have a three-way feature, and I can.
Yeah.
Oh no! I can only call out. That's right. So if somebody wants me to call them, they can get, if they want to post their number, if they want to risk giving it to Bongi Gandhi Wan Shrish out there in Cyberland. and have make three-way amends, and we can have a three-way conversation. We can bring somebody in. So I can't call international, but I can call anybody in the States here. So so just let us know if you want to call.
Yeah, that's why I think I said last time, if they don't want the whole world to see their phone number, they can also call you outside of the program to organise it. That way they can give you their number so you can call them. Yeah,
that's right. We're doing it on the song and winging a prayer, so there you go.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not very good at multitasking. I'm trying to find a certain comment that Lynn pointed out, and I'm having to go back to the start.
To find something, let me look here.
Yeah, there's Liz and Teresa, Take the L Devil. We're just responding to your thank yous and sending love.
Great,
and
thank you.
Yeah, and I can't find the specific comment that I'm looking for from Teresa, so I'll move on. I might spot it. Okay, there. Okay, I got one. Got one.
What's that?
I've got one. I found one.
You got something?
Yeah. Melissa says, what more can you tell us about the white horse? How isn't the false Christ supposed to, or no, isn't the story like, there's so many layers to these lies, Desert. Isn't he supposed to be coming in on a white horse? Is that the story we're told?
Well, the symbolism, of course, is metaphorical. It's not a literal riding in on a horse. So we see him when he's coming into his last week in Jerusalem, into Jerusalem. The scriptures are so poorly translated, corrupted, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
That we see part of it because there's one that says, they went to get a colt and an ass. So they got two beasts. One was a colt, a baby stallion, and the other one is an ass. And so he wasn't riding into Jerusalem on an ass. He was riding on the colt behind the ass. And that's the correct translation. And some of the lost writings also convey the picture as well, so that it's not just, these are not the only sources for this story. But he's riding in on a colt behind the ass. And the ass is Jerusalem. The ass was used to serve a purpose. And the ass was no longer of any use because it was an ass. And an ass cannot bring forth life. It is crossbreed between a horse and a donkey. And so what it is when does that colt become a stallion? It becomes a stallion when he rises from the dead. And so we get that picture in Revelations where we see the Malach riding in on a horse. And so he's the one in control, who controls all things. All power was given unto him. So it's strictly a metaphor for riding. He's not literally on a horse, but it's just, that's the picture that's given to us. We got to read the symbols.
Yeah. And Take also said, glad you got a new book, Desert, with little hearts and a smiley face.
What was the word? What was the statement? I didn't get it. I'm sorry.
Glad you got a new book, Desert, with little hearts and a smiley face. So yeah.
What did I get new? I'm sorry.
A new book with the donation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I got a few of them in. I've got some wonderful books. Thanks to wonderful support that I wouldn't be able to get by myself. Couldn't afford them, but putting them. I'm reading like about over 20 books right now at one time, and I go through them every day. And I'm just making so many more discoveries of the Indo-Germanic in particular, and it's just an amazing journey, to see words in their deepest aspects, just like this one here. Let me get a little more light. And I was looking under the Y in this one dictionary, and right in there they had a language and cultural note. They put periodically a little box in the dictionary to talk about something, and I was absolutely astounded at what. I'm going to try to set up the phone in a better position here so I can read at the same time. So. Let me just take a sip of my drink here before I start.
Just so you know, there's another 2 questions. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, this will be quick.
Please continue.
So, this is what it reads, okay? The root yiva, the W is, see, I know the W already is a V, so I can adjust it. So yavo, it's not, the E is a corruption, it's an A. So yavo is the source of the noun yivos, the basic Indo-European term for grain. Its descendant in Sanskrit is yava, and there we see the prime element of yavahe. Okay, and it's referred to grain in general and barley in particular. They say beer saved the world, and there's barley getting the highest mark. Another tongue-in-cheek, but going back into an ancient, beer was the first brew. They made it on record at least. Wine and was right there with it, of course. But barley was a sacred grain in a number of Indo-European societies, and probably in Proto-Indo-European as well. In the Indic mythology from India, barley was one plant that sided with the gods in their protean struggle against the darkness. In the cognate Iranian Avestan tradition, the sowing of Yahweh is equated with the sowing of religious truth. And there is Yahweh, which is none other than a form of the word Yeshua.
Yeah.
You see, these are forms. So the one who provides the grain is Yahweh, and the one who sows the seed of truth is Yeshua. And here's the perfect picture of the Father and the Son coming from these ancient words, okay? And so grain is the seed, the rain of seed. And Yahweh is the seed of the Son, with Yeshua. And so I was just astounded to realize to see there in one, both together, the words Yahweh and Yeshua in the primitive Indo-Germanic, and you got to know that these people writing this dictionary had no, perhaps notion of even what they were providing. And then right above that box, it says a grain, probably barley, suffixed form yavya, and then they pronounce it zayin. Z, capital letter Z-E-I-N, which you can see is the word Zion.
Yeah.
And also same, which from the German means to be, same. So the word Zion, in one sense, then, means to be. Okay? And that's, in other words, it's dealing with creation, right? What comes forth was meant to be. And so literally, all of the prime elements are found right here on this one page on the Indo-Germanic mother tongue. So I'm I was absolutely astounded to find it there, and so it's so good to get confirmations of what you were already seeing, and then you find it in the dictionary, it's of the ancient original thought. So it's very, very profound,
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the questions you got, Ninja?
Okay. I'll go with one of mine. and then I'll go back to the chat. I was curious about the two witnesses in Revelation. I should have written down where, but anyway, so I looked up interpretations. I just Googled and wanted to see what would come up. And an interpretation is that the two witnesses, oh, that's right, in the verse that I read, the two witnesses are two lampposts and olive trees, and the interpretation was that the lampposts are the 10 Commandments and the olive trees are, I don't like saying this word, but in context to what I was looking at, God's Spirit, because the interpreter was saying so many people thought the two witnesses were going to be human beings, so that's what this is based on. So is there any truth in that? I'm just trying to figure it out. Is there any truth in...
Are you talking about...
Yeah, yeah. I wish I had the...
Are you talking about the two witnesses? Are you talking about the two witnesses in Revelation?
Yeah, the two witnesses. Yeah, in Revelation.
Well, right, okay. So, well, from my standpoint, the two witnesses are John the Baptist and Yeshua. You see, because they came down from the light and ushered in truth for mankind.
Yeah.
And John became a witness for Yeshua, so they were both. That's why Yeshua says of John the Baptist, "There's none greater that were born of women than John the Baptist." Okay, but yet he did no miracles, but yet he spoke just like Yeshua. I have discovered his speeches. I've got a rough translation of one. I hope to publish if there's time left. But nobody knows they even exist, you know. And so he told the history of the world in his speeches. What was it that people were flocking out to see him? Why would people flock out? Why would they go in the water? What was it that he was saying that was so profound? You know, that literally the world was going after him.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's because he was a light from Yahweh. He was also called Elijah, right? And so he represented an archetype figure. And so Yeshua then, comes, and there's two of them that are speaking of the kingdom of heaven, right? To use their terminology, the kingdom of heaven. And when he says it's at hand, what he means is the kingdom of heaven has come. There's no future tense in the Aramaic or the Hebrew. It is present tense, so the kingdom of heaven is not at hand in the sense of, when we read it that way, it's the kingdom of heaven has come. Be prepared, for the judgment has arrived. The judgment is what? Well, he made you your own judge. That's what the great judge did. He made you your own judge.
Yeah.
You are going to be the one who decides where you go. That's a pretty cool judge, right?
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas they got us
that eliminates. That eliminates all the fear. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
That eliminates all the fear that they've instilled in us. Fear of judgment.
Well, right. Well, the Babylonian doctrine gave us a false image of that when the judgment came. We're all going to be standing in line somewhere with our ticket, waiting for the big judge to look down from his big desk at us and condemn us.
Yeah.
But the truth is, the judgment is now. We have to be our own judges to determine where we want to go. It's here. The fire is here. He destroyed the world by fire. The fire of what? His truth. His truth is the destroyer of the occultic.
Wow. I just saw something in what you said then. Wow. That's amazing. As usual, does it?
None of it. Yeah, none of it is as we were given the picture.
Yeah.
You see, just like the Great Tribulation, The Great Tribulation was when Israel and Judah were banished from their own nation and were sold into slavery. And then from that point on, they had to struggle to have any relationship with Yahweh, the great Elohim. And so for 500 years, they were under foreign occupation, tortured by their enemy, sold into slavery. Tell me that's not a great tribulation. When the Greek Antiochus Epiphanes took over Jerusalem, Shalom, after Alexander the Great, and then the people wanted to get back to being whoever they were that claimed to be Utah or Israel, whoever they were. Well, we're trying to follow the original customs because that was their only hope. And Antiochus Epiphanes, the women who were circumcising their sons, he was throwing them off the cliff with their mothers and the babies together. Anyone who circumcised their baby, he'd throw them off the cliff. He compelled priests to eat pork, or he tortured them to death. Tell me that's not a great tribulation. The story is in 4th Maccabees. That one particular, an entire family of the priest Eleazar and his 8 sons and his wife, each one at a time, ritually compelled to eat pork or to be tortured to death on the rack with hot irons pierced through your body. Have your tongue cut out, all the hot liquids, boiling liquids poured down your nostrils and your throat. Tell me that's not a great tribulation.
Wow. Yeah.
See? So the end of the world, according to Hebrews 9:26, I believe it is, says, and at the end of the world, Yeshua came. So 2,000 years ago was the end of the world. The world changed.
Yeah.
The world, the nature of the world changed from the dark age to the golden age of light, from darkness to light. Yeshua ushered in the truth. It was occulted within 100 years. The occult took over all the writings and our tradition, the Roman government. It was a given that would happen, but the kingdom of heaven, to use that terminology, is still here. It is here now. Anybody can find it. It is in the great mystery. You see, it's not as we were told.
Yeah.
It is a little more deeper than the way they tell us. What's coming now is the end of the Gentile dispensation. That's where we're at. We're at the end of our world.
Yeah.
But it's the end of what's called the Gentile dispensation. He gave us 2,000 years to be harvested into the royal house of the Son, into the kingdom of heaven. And it's just about over now.
You've helped me understand also something else that I wrote down, and then I promise I'll get to the other question in the chat. Just saying things while they're in my head. You just helped me understand the statement that I hear a lot. He will come like a thief in the night. And everyone's saying, be ready. Well, I don't know how to explain it, but I can see through that now. Like it's all twisted. Yeah.
It's because he's spirit.
Yeah.
And he comes when you are ready to receive him.
Yeah.
We are preparing ourselves. Each one of us individually is preparing ourselves as a bride to receive the groom. And so it says he comes as a thief in the night because we're preparing ourselves. He wants to harvest us. We're in the lower garden. He wants to harvest us when we are ripe, when we are bringing forth good fruit. And then we receive the great breath of the wind and fire, the Holy Spirit. And that's when we are harvested and we become one. The marriage happens, you see.
Yeah.
And so that's the great mystery. He is here right now. We have a relationship with him as servants, as his servants, but he wants to adopt us as seed of light, as children of light. But first we have to put on that light and the white robe in the great mystery.
Wow. That was that was beautifully said. Yeah.
You see, it said there was 10 virgins, and 5 of them were wise and 5 were foolish. The 5 wise virgins, it said, had oil in their lamps. The oil is truth. The foolish versions had lamps. That was their body. The lamp is the body, but yet there was no truth in them. And so when the bridegroom came, then it said that the foolish ones were not accepted. He said, "I don't know who you are. Go away." Only the ones who have truth in them, were accepted. And then so, even though it looked like all five of them went in at the same time, the truth is He comes to each one of us individually when we are ready to receive Him.
Yeah.
We can only come with a pure heart and a pure mind and a purified body. We cannot come in being liars or deceivers or hypocrites or living a life of our self-will. We have to surrender our self-will to the higher will of Yeshua. We are His servants. He made us. We did not make ourselves. So we're only lying to ourselves if we think that we're going to be able to have a party and then we're going to go somewhere after that. We're not going anywhere but to the outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Okay, now I'm speechless, so I'll read this question. Yeah, taking it all in, Desert. Okay, and Melissa has a question. Desert, do you know who Little Horn is, or the 10-head beast? I think you've mentioned, talked about this before, but anyway.
The little horn?
The Little Horn and the 10-head beast. Yeah.
Well, the little horn, I would have to go back to read it to see if I can comprehend that. But the ten horns, or the beast system are the 10 governments united that are symbolized in the Fasci. So back when the Roman Empire was in its heyday, there was apparently 10 nations that were working in tandem, unified with the Roman Empire, and that's where this symbol of the Fasci, properly called the fascia, comes from. It is the 10 black ebony rods with the battle axe and the berserker battle axe in the middle. Okay, and so that's what that's basically about. Without having taken study, I don't. A lot of the symmetry that it's referring to, everything was pointing to Yeshua, to the end of the world, when He came, when everything changed, because and basically, remember, this was the one who made the entire universe, who came to His own to see if there was any fruit on the tree, any fruit on the vine. He knew already, of course, there wasn't. And so His own people, they were not really His own people, because it was all interpolators. They were all Babylonians. They were all foreigners that took over Yeruah Shalom. Some of them were legitimately Yudah. Some of them had a legitimate family line, going back to the original. But a good many of them were foreigners, especially like I say, Israel was gone in 730 BC, and then in 500 BC, Yudah is banished to Babylon. So whatever came back was such a small remnant that, for all practical purposes, the people running the show were foreigners, following the Babylonian Talmud, working with the Phoenicians, having great commerce and trade, and enslaving the rest of the people, mind control, taxation, having a great party, and so Yeshua just simply came to bring truth and to destroy, cut the ancient world off, cut it off. When John the Baptist's head was cut off, that was symbolic of the last line of the Levitical priest, son of Zechariah, and his head was cut off, so it's symbolic of the Levitical priesthood being cut off, and Melchizedek, the symbol of Melchizedek of Shem, Asham correctly, Yeshua, who as per the symbolic nature of the Melchizedek priesthood, without mother, without father, without descent of days, because he was from the beginning. He's the one who, for Yahweh, was the son of Yahweh and made all things. So I don't get, without giving deep study into certain elements, it's hard to remember all of the different graphic imagery in a lot of the symbolism, especially in Daniel. And everybody, there's easily half a dozen different interpretations on all that. I try to keep it simple, and I know about, we just have to surrender to the one above, and to rebreathe with the breath of a star. That's what repent means. To go through the water, and the world ended. Okay, 2,000 years ago. The book of Enoch was about the end. At the end of time, one would come. The deliverer would come at the end of the world. That's what happened 2,000 years ago. That's what Enoch was all about. It was about the fallen ones, and then about the one who would come to deliver. See, that's simple. So the details of, like when I read the book called The 12 Caesars, I was astonished when I was reading one of the books of Ezra, one of his other books, in the Old Testament pseudepigrapha. He literally described the 12 Caesars identically to the way they were described in the book called The 12 Caesars. I was absolutely astounded how a book written 400 years earlier, 500 years earlier, literally described the Caesars, that were still half a millennium away. And he wrote about them and told what would happen to them, how they would die and everything. It was astounding to realize that these scriptures spoke, so perfectly, about the future. That's why these books were taken away from us. That's why 70 of these books are in a collection 2-volume set called the Pseudepigrapha, the Old Testament Pseudepigrapha. Okay, so it's over $100 to get this collection. Nobody can afford it anymore today. It's amazing the treasures that have been stolen from us, and it's our way back home. It's our way back home. We've got to be scholars. So I'm sorry I can't get more of a direct answer, to that, the little horn, without reading it again, but for anybody that wants to check it out, it's in Daniel 7, 8, and 8, in chapter 7 and chapter 8. Okay, just check it out. Excuse me.
You're excused. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for all your hard work, and going out there and doing the digging for us and the interpreting for us and finding all this literature to back up all your research that you've been doing. That's just a thank you from me, and on behalf of everybody that's listening. So.
Well, then I expect to see you on the other side, Ninja. Okay.
I'll be there. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice too.
I don't want to be disappointed.
I'll be there.
We've got a lot of work to do on ourselves. It's the hardest thing is to overcome this world. Nobody hopscotches into the kingdom of heaven. It's about dying to this world. We have to die to this world. We have to realize, and that's why this the world dying. All the evil that these Zionists, these Talmudists, these psychopaths that are running a world, we couldn't have better incentive, to want to get on our knees and connect with the one who made all things. If everything was just, rosy and tulips, and just blue skies, and we would never have the incentive to get right with our Maker, but we have that ability, and the only thing left is certain key knowledge, that why these other translations, all of them misuse the words. That's what's amazing. I've been collecting variable translations to compare. I used to have 60 different translations, lost most of my books, but now, thanks to a few wonderful supporters, I've been able to get a few translations that I needed to compare and look at, and not one of them identifies the word beloved. The word beloved, that is when Yeshua come up out of the water after he went and was immersed into this, the waters of immersion, of purification, of baptism, as we call it. Alva Vatazering is more correct. Alva Vatazering, tried saying that 3 times fast. Nobody even knows the word. But yet that it is a word that is expressive of the correct nature of what is happening. And when he came up out of the water, then the cloud part of the window was all overcast, and the cloud part of the window in the sky, and the light came down, focused directly upon Yeshua, if you can capture that picture in your mind. And then a voice came down and said, "This is my only loved seed. Hear him." And Yelganon became a witness. That's what he was witnessing, the coming of the great golden age of light, and the true Mashiach, the one, Mo'eshiach, the one bringing truth and light to mankind. And so the voice said, "This is not my beloved," as we hear in our corrupted scriptures. This is my only loved seed. And there is not one transliteration out there that says it. And it's foundational.
Yeah.
Because there's actually still a debate going on about the seed line.
Yeah.
About this seed line and that seed line. And there's only one pure seed, and it is Yeshua. And all of us are in the corrupted seed line, and that is why we have to be born a second time. The second born. We have to become the second born. Because the first time we were in the fall, in the darkness. We have to be born of light from darkness. You were trying to say something.
No, I was just, I've got tears in my eyes, Desert. It's just, it's so true and amazing, and I can't believe we're at this point in time. And
You and me both.
yeah, and just what you were saying before, if things were all rainbows and rosiness, there'd be no reason to look inwards and search, and just thinking the last few days that I've had, and the last few days that a few of us have had, I can see, like, it's awful going, like, it's awful suffering, it's awful going through pain and exhaustion and frustration and all the negative stuff, but it needs to be done. It's like, it's never permanent, it's only temporary, and when you come out the other side of it, you've grown, and like, I know I've grown a little, and I've grown a little bit closer to Yeshua, and yeah, it makes you stronger, and it makes you feel grateful for that suffering, even though it's awful at the time, and you can't see the end of it, but it never lasts. It's only temporary, and it's to make us stronger. And I'm going to stop now because my voice keeps going funny. Yeah.
Right. Well, one of the scriptures says that. I'll be a bad paraphrase, but for all the suffering that any of us could go through, it doesn't compare to the illumination that we will find ourselves in when we get to the other side, and the other side begins here.
Yeah.
And now, by receiving the great breath, is called the earnest of our inheritance. The earnest is like, you have a giant estate worth $5 million, so right now you're going to get $500,000 in advance as an earnest, and then you get the other $5 million, when you become a certain age. And so that's basically it. We receive the great breath of the wind and fire, the spirit down here, the spirit of Yahweh, of Yeshua. They are one. It is one spirit, and then when we mortally pass, even though once we become alive by the Spirit, we can no longer die, because we have life in us now for the first time, because we are dead until we receive the breath. That's why we are symbolically naked when we are born, unlike all other creatures that have feathers and fur. We're the only ones that are born, and it's quite evident that we need to put something on because we're naked, and we're of a higher order. and that nakedness is symbolic of the fact that we have one thing left to put on, and that is the light of the pure nature that was breathed into a star, the same breath that breathed into a star, that breathed in when it said that the spirit moved upon the waters. It was talking about the cosmic waters. The great breath moved upon the cosmic waters and then breathed into a star and said, "Let there be light," and the sun was ignited. And that was like 6 billion years ago, give or take. Okay, and then star ignited, and then from that point on, all of the solar system began to come into being, and all the planets and the moons came out from the mother star, the sun, and they continued to go around it because it's their mother, and that's symbolic of Mary being the Virgin, and also known as the Fae. But there is an order to creation, like the occultists. They all say, well, a Big Bang happened, and then bam, bam, bang, bang, bong, and all of a sudden everything keeps expanding out, just like it was a garbage dump,
Yeah.
Nuts and bolts right over here, and some springs over here, No, there was a beautiful order into the way this, and it started with one atom. One atom. The first atom is Yeshua. He is the protogene. He is the first made of all things. And then the duplicate comes after that. And if you could just, like I like to use the example that, if you had a glass of water, 8 ounces of water on your desk, there are literally more atoms within that one glass of water than there are glasses of water in all the oceans of the world combined. It's a mind-boggling reality of the microcosm versus the macrocosm, and then to realize how many atoms have to be in the sun.
Yeah.
And that's why he can just keep raining down on us, non-ending, non-stop. He never sleeps. The symbol of the Great One, that's the great logo. That's a symbol of his power. That's a symbol of how great he is. And yet it says that if you took all the stars of the cosmos and put them together, still the power of Yahweh, the great Father himself, would be 10,000 times greater than the entire stars of the universe coming together. It is beyond our wildest imagination of the true nature of our reality and where we are versus where we can be in this the light, to be in the light, to go back home, because he became like us through his only loved seed. He became like us, a flesh and blood sentient being walking among us, healing everyone, to show us how much he loved us and to give us the opportunity so that we could then follow him back and become like he is, one with him, in a totally above scale, beyond our wildest imagination. So whatever suffering, that's why the people, we saw them when they went into the Colosseum, came later on. But the arena when they were tortured to death, and that they endured. They were willing to endure any type of physical pain. First of all, they had the spirit, so the spirit gave them a quality of character that allowed them to endure the torture. But yet they were willing to do it because they knew this was not their home, and they were waiting. They were ready. They were good to go for what was waiting for them. You see, and so they had something, and that's what they had. We need to have. Bottom line.
Wow. Desert, I have no words. I'm just, it's
Nobody's pulling it out like this, are they?
No, it's okay, descriptive words right now. Wow, awesome, amazing, and overwhelmed. Yeah. And I'll just read I'll just read Ya Love's comment. Put on the light in capitals. Desert. Wow, wow, wow. That's me. Thank you, Ya Love.
Right. And thank you for that comment. And so I just one word. Where was this one? Oh yeah, on great. So in going through the dictionaries, I found a definition. because one of the scriptures, and I've never heard anybody talk about this one either, where it says, "Call no one your father, but your Father in heaven." But as the scriptures have been watered down, and they're not conveying the message correctly anymore, the correct scripture is, "Call no one great Father, but your great Father in the throne of the Son," or the Father in heaven, which is the corrupted version. So call no one your great Father, but your great Father in heaven. So you see, it wasn't that we shouldn't call anyone Father. We all have a Father. But when it comes to the terminology, great Father, we only have one great Father, and that is Yahweh, who is seen in the character of Yeshua. You see, so what we would call our grandfather, we would call our father's father. That's how we would do it. We would say, "My father's father," or "My father's father." You would call him in those terminology, because we only have one great Father. We were told to honor our father and our mother, and the great Father, of course, number one, who gave us all being, created the universe. And then in the terminology of great Father, we see the word great means star, and then the Father in the terminology faithor means light. So literally, great Father means my starlight. That's the way they would have said it back in the ancient, my starlight. You see, meaning of the sun, the logo, the symbol. You got it here first, Nancy.
Yes, and I'm so grateful. Lynn wants to say she heard from Mew, and so did I, but we both got the same message, which, I don't know, concerns me. So we're creating light for her. It was just a basic message sending love to us, to everyone, and things are heating up in Venezuela, so there's lots of disinformation and strange.
You went real quick when you spoke your tongue.
Yeah, sorry. Lots of disinformation and strange things going on there. So, and she's constantly they're controlling the internet, limiting internet, and she's constantly without power and internet, and can only get through to us when she can. So, yeah. So it was good to hear from her anyway.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll certainly keep her in the creation of light, and the Venezuela is a little just further down the road than where many of us are about to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. They brought the Islamic thing into all of our world to be a part of the takedown. When chaos occurs, they've all got their guns and their swords ready to chop everybody else's head off if they don't want to convert to Islam. They're going to have a real party coming up next when society breaks down. Not to mention the anti-gravity vimanas. There's more what they call UFO activity. Of course, they're all identified.
It's all over the place at the moment. Yeah.
The World Federation.
Yeah.
And here to use those blue beams or whatever they're going to use, pulsation, microwave transmissions to burn up all the homes on the planet. They're gearing up for a total takedown. It's a total takedown because they know they've got to go underground, and before they go underground, they're gonna set the world on fire. Maybe it's because Yahweh said he would destroy the world by fire. So I guess they figure they're gonna upstart them and do it themselves.
Yeah, they copy everything. So yeah, it figures.
That's right.
Yeah, and Take the Elder Teresa says, I'm so glad. This is this is to both of us. I'm so glad you and Desert are working together. So am I. Yeah.
Thank you, Trick. Thank you, Trick Teresa.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I'm winding down here. Any other? I got a couple words here, real quick. Okay. We've got I pointed out that the word angel, when you look it up in the Latin dictionary from 1812, or the from the Middle English Dictionary from the mid 1400s approximate. You look up the word angel, and it says to see English. Look up English. So they knew back then, before these modern day versions. They did the switch outs with words. Because the original word was Malak for angel is Malak, and it has a whole different meaning. And there's no pictures. No creatures with wings on their back. It's all fabrications of man. Those are the ancestors of the Babylonian families. They put wings on their backs in their pictures because they means that they transcended, but they didn't transcend. That's a big lie. They're in chains of darkness. But so anyway, I looked up the word in Webster's 1812 dictionary, the American dictionary, and under angelicized, because I couldn't remember what angelicized had meant, and under there it says to make English. Okay, so go figure. Angelicized, angel, is to make English.
Yeah.
Okay?
Following. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a second witness for me right now. So I got 3 dictionaries, that points at angel and aim, and the angel, A-N-G. Actually, I found in the etymology, all A-N-G as an angle for hook, means also serpent. Okay, and so it means that's American Heritage Dictionary, page 26 on the introduction, and then Levi, I also discovered Levi, or correctly Leve. Leve means serpent as well, but it also means bridge. And so the point is that the serpent, being our body, is our bridge, just like the earth is our bridge that we stand upon until we pass through this portal. The earth is a serpent in the metaphor as well. All of creation is a serpent. So Leve is, and one of the aspects is serpent, So it was the serpent priesthood, I guess, then, in that sense of the meaning. That's why it said they wore a white turban. A white turban represented the white serpent versus the black serpent. So you've got good serpents and bad serpents. So when I was looking up this word snake, serpent, then I was in the dictionary on symbolism. It said that the snake and serpent symbolizes the seed sporum of mankind. So right there, they're acknowledging the serpent, as I heard you mention, is the sporum, correctly pronounced sporum, that we all were. We were a microscopic serpent, and we came into life on this fantastic journey, up the birthing canal. All the others died. Several million died, while we were the only one that made it to the symbol of the sun, the egg, the seed, and became fertilized, and then we came forward. So we've been on a fantastic journey. We are more than 1 in a million already. And we have to go on a fantastic journey one more time on the inner journey. And so serpent also then means the origin of life. That's your sun, the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its tail every day, going around the earth, or the earth spinning, actually. Earth spinning, and sun rising, that's the serpent eating its tail, beginning and ending. And the silent tendency of darkness, it's also, the snake and serpent is also the silent tendency of darkness to crawl towards that light. It really doesn't want to go there, right? The serpent, the darkness doesn't want to crawl even to the light, but it's crawling, because it's hard to overcome the darkness. And the servant, and the word servant itself, a shakfan, servant is serpent. So in the ancient time, when they said, go get my servant, he will work for you. Go get my serpent. That's literally what they were saying. Go get my serpent. And the serpent also is represented by the moon. The moon is also the cycles of the moon. It's a 19-year cycle, and it's serpentine. It goes around and not in the same pattern every. It's a 19-year cycle of pattern. So got those. And what was that? Let me see here. Oh, I can't. I'm running out of my voice. I can't do that one. Okay, so termination, rather interesting. That the word term and nation are brought together in termination, but you know how I've discovered the word Asia is, for man is Asian. We knew that they called certain people Asians. We just didn't know it was the Aryan race. that was really the Asian, and so that's how they do the switch out. So literally, termination means the term in Asian. Rather interesting. But then the word determination, literally, I saw that today, deter the view of the Asian that comes down. Deter the view of the Asian that comes down. Determination. Well, that's their determination then, right? Not ours.
Yep.
Yep, they've been working overtime to deter us from having a view of who we are, where we are, and when we are, and why we are. And here we are.
We are here. Yes.
Right. And so if there's no other questions, then I will just remind everybody that it's a short road that we're on here on Earth, and that I just want everybody to remember that if they want to know the future, they just need to tune in right here with NinjaCat 111 for the Forbidden History series. Every Tuesday, Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time approximate when Ninja gets up. He hears her alarm. And then on Sundays, 1 p.m. Eastern Time as well. Tentatively, of course, our schedules change sometimes, so just stay tuned. And do tell your friends. And thank you, Ninja, for doing great work when you're under so much stress and challenges on your own.
Thank you, Desert. I need this. I need this to get through the stress. So thank you. Yeah, it's been too long. Right. It's been too long in between streams. So
I hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'll let you go. I'll let you sign off with our friends out there, and then
okay.
We'll look towards Sunday. Okay, we'll look for Sunday then. My time. Right?
Yeah. Good to go. And everyone's sending you love. So yeah.
Oh, great. Well, I love to everybody else. If they weren't there, I wouldn't be here. But the question would be, if I weren't here, would they be there? Think about that. Okay. We'll see you, Ninja. Peace
okay. Thank you, Desert. Peace and love always. See ya.
You too. Bye.
Okay, and just before we go, I'll quickly read out some details because I didn't do that at halftime. Desert's phone number, you can contact him on 608-566-7295. That's 608-566-7295. If you're international, just put a +1 in front of it. Yeah, so he mentioned that he can take 2 callers, I think, 2 or 3 callers during the program while we're here on the Forbidden History Chronicles. But he has to call you. So if you don't want to put your number in the chat or make it public, just give him a call or send him a text outside of the program, and he can organise it. Desert does now have a computer organised, but he still needs to get set up. So in the meantime, if you're after PDFs of the Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary, or the Book of Wisdom, or a sample of the original Gospel with a more updated version of the dictionary attached, just go through me, and any messages for Desert, just send them to me. My email's always in the description, and I can organise that for you or pass on a message to Desert. But he will be back up and running very soon, so we'll be alternating between my channel and his channel very soon. Okay, I think that's all. Love you guys. It's good to be back. It has been too long in between streams. We will try and keep it regular. Okay. It was very powerful. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the Forbidden History Chronicles. And be safe. I'll see you guys later.